Hi, do you know what today's thought? These people who are frankly openly demonstrating for a Hamas victory, for Israel to be defeated, it's right in Hamas's charter. Their goal is to kill all the Jews, basically, in between, not just in between the river and the sea, but everywhere in the world. They're linked to the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood's goal is to convert everybody in the whole world to Islam and kill anybody who doesn't convert. That's our goal. And we have these open demonstrations in favor of Hamas. Now, they always reply, or they don't always reply. Some of them, as I said, are very frank about what they want, but you'll hear other people say sometimes, especially, including, I won't say especially, including, but not limited to, actual members of Congress. Now, they'll say, I am not anti-Semitic, I am anti-Zionist, and that anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are not the same thing. Well, there was a debate recently in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, something called the Munk Organization, the Munk something or other, M-U-N-K, and that was the question that was debated. The specific question is anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism. Now, I always try to give complete information. I'm going to show you an excerpt of a few minutes. I always try to link to the entire debate, the entire program, so you can watch and see the whole thing if you want to. The problem I have is that right now there is no audio and video available of the whole thing that I could find. Now, I went on YouTube. There was an article about the debate, and there was a link to the debate, and the video was taken down, a copyright strike on YouTube. I went directly to the Munk, M-U-N-K website. There is a notice of the debate notifying that it's going to happen or that it happened, but there is no audio, there is no video of the actual debate. But it maybe I hope they will post it in the future. So what I did as a consolation, the best I could do, and if you find the whole thing online, then definitely notify me in the comments, send me a link, and I'll post that link. I'll replace the link that I have now, which is simply a link to the website. If you want to, you can periodically, every so often, visit the website and see if there's a video. But I'm not trying to hide anything. There just is no audio and video. Anyways, there were four participants, two on either side, and one of the participants was on the pro side was a gentleman named Douglas Murray. I'm just going to show you his opening statement. That's all. The opening statement. You watch, and that'll be it. And that will be the whole video for today. And without further ado,
well, thank you very much, Rudyard. It's a great pleasure to be back at the Munk debates. When I was last here a couple of years ago, I just returned from the front line of the war in Ukraine, where I was with the Ukrainian armed forces. And for most of the last 8 months, I've been in Israel and Gaza, following the war there as closely as I can. And I won't go into all of the details now that I could give you of what's happening. But I would just put it in perspective in this way, first of all. What happened on the 7th of October was not just a massive attack on innocent people inside Israel. It was the equivalent to about 6,000 Canadians being massacred and burned in their homes in one day. It was the equivalent of about 1,500 of your fellow Canadians being taken hostage. You know, you would have thought after an attack like the one that Hamas instigated, that started this terrible war, you would have thought that there would be some sympathy for the world, from the world. You might have thought the world would pay attention to the attack and at least pay attention to the people behind it. You might have expected, like me, that there might have been a worldwide opposition to the terrorists and rapists and murderers of Hamas. You might have thought there would be hatred around the world erupting at the government of Qatar and its mouthpiece, Al Jazeera, its funding of Hamas and its hosting of the leadership of Hamas in Qatar. You might have thought there'd have been an outpouring of rage at the Islamic Revolutionary Government in Tehran, but no. There was an immediate outpouring of rage against the state that had been attacked. Bring back our girls, we had 10 years ago in the war in northern Nigeria, which I also covered. Bring back our girls. No international campaign saying bring back our Jewish children. Believe all women, we've been told for years. But turns out, not if the raped women are Jews. Israel is the only country in the world which, when it's attacked, gets attacked more. You know, the interesting thing about anti-Semitism is, as my late friend Jonathan Sachs said, it's a shape-shifting virus. It moves across the centuries. When you could hate people for their religion, the Jews were hated for their religion. Then you couldn't hate people for that anymore, so people hated the Jews for their race. And then, after the 20th century, people realized that wasn't such a great idea either. Now, the Jews are hated not for their religion or their race, but for having a state. People around the world hate them so much for it that Israelis are attacked when they have hostages taken, and this is to remember the 100 hostages still in captivity in Gaza, who, if they were given back by Hamas today, the war would be over. And they're also attacked when they rescue their hostages. You know, the interesting thing about anti-Semitism is the Jews can never win, because historically they've been hated for being rich and for being poor. They've been hated for integrating and for not integrating. They were hated for being stateless. Remember, rootless cosmopolitans, the far right used to say. Now they're hated for having a state. Today, the only really acceptable form of anti-Semitism, aside from the sewers of the far right, the only real tolerated form of anti-Semitism is anti-Zionism. And Zionism, as we just heard, is simply the right of the Jews to self-determination in their historic homeland. That's all. Anti-Semitism, as we've also just heard, is double standards against Jewish people, or cruel and unfair treatment of people because they're Jews. This isn't very far away from home here. If this isn't anti-Semitism, can the audience here tell me why the following things have happened since October the 7th? Why in a Montreal suburb a synagogue should be firebombed, as happened in November? Why there should have been gunshots against the yeshiva? Why in Toronto a bookstore owned by a Jew should be attacked? Why a Molotov cocktail was thrown through a Jewish community center in Montreal? Why a Toronto Jewish deli in North York was firebombed? Why in Toronto the Orthodox synagogue was vandalized? Why in Toronto 2 men opened fire the other week on a Jewish girls' school? If it isn't anti-Semitism, tell me why just a week ago pro-Hamas protesters tried to go through Jewish areas in this city shouting not just Allahu Akbar, but, and I quote, sorry for the language, fucking filthy fucking Zionist pigs, dirty Zionist rats. Have you heard that language before? The Jews have. Now look, if you are interested in this motion, just bear this in mind. It's not about Netanyahu, it's not about this war, it's about double standards, and one question hovers over it above all. The question of who would protect the Jews. Who would you trust to protect them? The Europeans? The Arab world? No. History shows only one people will protect the Jewish people. The Jewish people. That's what Zionism is. Thank you.
Now, the only thing I will add to what you just saw and heard is that there was a vote taken before the debate. Do you believe anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism? And 61% of the audience said that yes, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And at the end of the debate, a poll was taken again, or a vote was taken again, and the percentage had risen to 66%, believing that Zionism is anti-Semitism. And just one final correction: I said monk organization. It's a charity. It's a charity. So that just be clear on that. And that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. And most of all, as usual, all your comments welcome below the video. And again, that link to, if you can find a link of the actual debate, I would love to replace the link that I have now with a link right to the debate. And that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could, well, I already did all that. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.